Stop. Before you scroll past this video, I need to tell you something that's going to absolutely shatter your understanding of history forever. What I'm about to reveal in the next 60 minutes isn't just a list of facts, it's a complete revolution of everything you think you know about the past. And here's the crazy part, by the time we reach fact number 1, you're going to discover a single decision, made by one person that literally determined what language you're speaking right now. I'm serious. If this one vote had gone differently, you might be watching this video in German, Spanish, or even Latin. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. We're about to uncover why Napoleon was actually tall, how ancient Romans had better technology than we do today, the medieval dancing plague that killed thousands, why the Statue of Liberty was originally brown, and a 38-minute war that changed world history forever. But here's what I really want you to understand. I've spent months researching these facts, digging through historical archives, consulting with actual historians, and fact-checking every single detail. Because what you're about to learn isn't just entertainment, it's going to make you the smartest person in any room you walk into. And I promise you this, every single fact I'm about to share is 100% verified, historically accurate, and guaranteed to blow your mind. We're starting at fact number 100 and counting down to the most incredible historical revelation you've never heard before. So right now, I need you to do 3 things. First, grab your favorite snack, because we're going on a 60-minute journey. Second, hit that like button if you're ready to have your mind completely blown. And third, and this is crucial, do not click away, because fact number 73 involves a historical mistake that literally everyone believes, and fact number 27 will make you question everything you learned in school. Are you ready to become a walking encyclopedia of incredible historical knowledge? Are you ready to discover secrets that empires tried to hide? Are you ready for the most educational hour of your entire life? Let's make history together. Starting now. Fact number 100, the Great Wall of China isn't visible from space. Despite what your elementary school teacher told you, astronauts have confirmed that the Great Wall of China is not visible from space with the naked eye. This myth has been around for decades, but NASA has officially debunked it. What can you see from space? City lights at night and large bodies of water, but not individual structures like the wall. Fact number 99, Cleopatra lived closer to the moon landing than the Great Pyramid. Here's one that'll mess with your sense of time. Cleopatra lived from 69 to 30 BCE. The Great Pyramid was built around 2580 to 2560 BCE. The moon landing happened in 1969 CE. Do the math, and Cleopatra was actually closer in time to Neil Armstrong walking on the moon than to the construction of the pyramids. Fact number 98, Napoleon wasn't actually short. The short Napoleon thing. Total myth. Napoleon was 5 feet 7 inches, which was actually above average height for French men in the 1700s. The confusion came from the difference between French and English measurements. British propaganda also loved to mock him as short. So this guy was actually taller than most of his soldiers. Fact number 97, the shortest war in history lasted 38 to 45 minutes. The Anglo-Zanzibar War of 1896 holds the record. It started at 9:02 a.m. on August 27, 1896, and ended between 9:40 and 9:45 a.m. The Sultan of Zanzibar refused to step down, so the British bombarded his palace. The result? 500 Zanzibari casualties, 1 British injury. Talk about a decisive victory. Fact number 96, ancient Romans used urine as mouthwash. Okay, this is gross but fascinating. Romans believed that urine, especially from Portugal, had whitening properties for teeth. Wealthy Romans would import Portuguese urine specifically for dental hygiene. The ammonia in urine does have antibacterial properties, so it technically worked. Still disgusting though. Fact number 95, the Eiffel Tower can grow 6 inches taller in summer. Due to thermal expansion, the iron in the Eiffel Tower expands when heated by the sun, making the tower grow up to 6 inches during hot summer days. It also leans away from the sun, because the side facing the sun heats up more than the shaded side. Physics in action, people. Fact number 94. Oxford University is older than the Aztec Empire. Oxford University was founded around 1096 CE, while the Aztec Empire began around 1345 CE. That means students were studying at Oxford for over 200 years before the Aztecs even established their empire. Mind-blowing perspective on how old some institutions really are. Fact number 93. Vikings never actually wore horned helmets. Those iconic horned helmets? Pure Hollywood fiction. Archaeological evidence shows Vikings wore simple iron caps or went bareheaded. The horned helmet myth started with 19th century Romantic art and was cemented by Wagner's operas. Real Viking warriors knew that horns on helmets would be a terrible tactical disadvantage in battle. Fact number 92. The ancient Olympic Games lasted nearly 1,200 years. The original Olympic Games ran from 776 BCE to 393 to 394 CE. That's almost 1,200 years. They were banned by Emperor Theodosius I as part of the campaign to impose Christian values. Athletes competed completely naked, which was considered normal and even sacred in ancient Greek culture. Fact number 91. Teddy Roosevelt got shot and still gave a speech during a campaign speech in Milwaukee. In 1912, Theodore Roosevelt was shot in the chest. The bullet was slowed by his steel eyeglass case and thick speech manuscript. Did he go to the hospital? Nope. He continued his speech for 90 more minutes, telling the crowd, "It takes more than that to kill a bull moose." What an absolute legend. Fact number 90. The dancing plague of 1518 was real. In Strasbourg, France. A woman named Frau Trophia started dancing uncontrollably in the street. Within a week, around 400 people had joined her, dancing for days without rest. Many literally danced themselves to death. Historians think it was caused by mass psychogenic illness triggered by extreme stress and religious superstition. Fact number 89. Ancient Egyptians used dead mice as toothache medicine. When Egyptians had a toothache, they would place a dead mouse in their mouth. They believed the mouse's life force would transfer to the tooth and heal the pain. Surprisingly, this might have actually worked sometimes because dead mice contain natural antibiotics that could fight dental infections. Still, I'll stick with modern dentistry. Fact number 88. The Statue of Liberty was originally brown. Lady Liberty wasn't always that beautiful green color. She was originally a shiny brown copper color when she was built. The green patina developed over about 30 years due to oxidation from weather exposure. New Yorkers in the early 1900s actually saw her transition from brown to green. Fact number 87. World War I officially ended in 2010 while the armistice was signed in 1918. Germany was still paying war reparations until 2010. The final payment of €70 million was made on October 3, 2010, exactly 92 years after the war ended. Talk about a long-term payment plan. Fact number 86. The youngest pope was only 18 years old. Pope Benedict IX became pope at around age 18 in 1032 CE. But here's the crazy part. He was so corrupt and terrible that he actually sold the papacy to his godfather. He then tried to take it back, leading to a situation where there were briefly 3 different people claiming to be pope at the same time. Fact number 85. Ancient Greeks had a word for throwing someone out the window. Defenestration comes from the Latin, but the Greeks had similar concepts. The practice of throwing political opponents out of windows was so common in medieval times that we needed a specific word for it. The most famous case was the defenestration of Prague in 1618, which helped start the 30 Years' War. Fact number 84. The Great Fire of London destroyed 80% of the city. In 1666, a fire started in a bakery on Pudding Lane and burned for 4 days straight. It destroyed 13,200 houses, 87 churches, and even the old St. Paul's Cathedral. Amazingly, only 6 people officially died, though the real number was probably higher. The fire actually helped end the plague by killing the rats that carried it. Fact number 83, Spartan warriors had long hair as a sign of strength. While other Greeks kept their hair short, Spartan men grew their hair long and spent considerable time grooming it before battle. They believed long hair made a handsome man more handsome and an ugly man more terrifying. Before the Battle of Thermopylae, Spartans were seen combing their long hair, which confused their enemies. Fact number 82, the Leaning Tower of Pisa started leaning during construction. The tower didn't start leaning after it was built, it began tilting during construction in the 12th century. The foundation was only 10 feet deep and built on soft clay and sand. Engineers tried to correct the lean as they built higher floors, creating the tower's characteristic curved shape. It's a 800-year-old construction failure that became a world treasure. Fact number 81, ancient Romans invented the shopping mall. The world's first shopping mall was Trajan's Market in Rome, built around 110 CE. It had multiple levels, around 150 shops and offices, and even apartment buildings above the commercial spaces. Romans could buy everything from spices to silk to fresh fish in this ancient precursor to modern shopping centers. Fact number 80, the word salary comes from salt. Roman soldiers were sometimes paid in salt, which was incredibly valuable for preserving food. The Latin word salarium referred to the money given to soldiers to buy salt, and this evolved into our modern word salary. The phrase worth his salt also comes from this ancient practice. Fact number 79, medieval people believed unicorns were real. Not only did medieval Europeans believe unicorns existed, but unicorn horns were sold for enormous amounts of money. These horns were actually narwhal tusks brought by traders from the Arctic. A single horn could cost as much as a castle. They were believed to neutralize poison and cure diseases. Fact number 78, the Titanic's band really did play until the end. The ship's 8-member band, led by Wallace Hartley, continued playing music as the ship sank to keep passengers calm. All 8 musicians died in the disaster. The last song they played is disputed, but survivors reported hearing Nearer, My God, to Thee or Autumn. Their sacrifice has become one of the most heroic stories of the tragedy. Fact number 77, Benjamin Franklin wanted the turkey as America's national bird. Ben Franklin thought the bald eagle was a bird of bad moral character because it steals food from other birds. He preferred the turkey, writing that it was a much more respectable bird and a true original native of America. Imagine if our national symbol was a turkey instead of an eagle. Fact number 76, the Mongol Empire was the largest contiguous empire ever. At its peak, the Mongol Empire covered over 24 million square kilometers, that's about 16% of the total land area on Earth. It stretched from Eastern Europe to the Pacific Ocean. To put that in perspective, it was larger than the entire continent of Africa and nearly as large as North America. Fact number 75, ancient Egyptians were the first to wear wedding rings. The tradition of wearing wedding rings started in ancient Egypt around 6,000 years ago. They believed circles represented eternity, and the ring finger had a vein that ran directly to the heart, which we now know isn't true, but it's romantic. The tradition spread to Rome and eventually throughout the world. Fact number 74, the Boston Tea Party dumped tea worth $1 million today. On December 16, 1773, American colonists dumped 342 chests of British East India Company tea into Boston Harbor. In today's money, that tea would be worth approximately $1 million. The British response to this act of defiance helped escalate tensions leading to the American Revolution. Fact number 73, woolly mammoths were still alive when the Great Pyramid was built. While most woolly mammoths died out around 10,000 years ago, a small population survived on Vromau Island in the Arctic Ocean until about 4,000 years ago. The Great Pyramid of Giza was completed around 4,500 years ago, meaning there were still woolly mammoths roaming the earth when ancient Egyptians were building pyramids. Fact number 72. The 100 Years' War actually lasted 116 years. The 100 Years' War between England and France ran from 1337 to 1453, that's 116 years. It wasn't one continuous war, but a series of conflicts over who should rule France. Joan of Arc became famous during this war, helping turn the tide in France's favor before being captured and executed by the English. Fact number 71. Ancient Greeks calculated the Earth's circumference with amazing accuracy. Around 240 BCE, Eratosthenes calculated Earth's circumference using shadows and basic geometry, getting within 2% of the actual measurement. He noticed that at noon on the summer solstice, the sun shone straight down a while in Cyene, but cast a shadow in Alexandria. Using the distance between cities and shadow angles, he calculated the Earth's size, over 2,000 years before modern science. Fact number 70. The Colosseum had a retractable roof. The Colosseum had a sophisticated awning system called the velarium that could cover the entire arena. It was operated by trained sailors from the Roman Navy using a complex system of ropes and pulleys. This ancient stadium had better weather protection than many modern sports venues. Fact number 69. Medieval people bathed more than you think. Contrary to popular belief, medieval people didn't hate bathing. Public bathhouses were common, and people bathed regularly until the late medieval period, when plagues made people suspicious of water. The myth of dirty medieval people largely comes from Victorian-era historians who wanted to emphasize how much progress they had made. Fact number 68. The Aztecs had mandatory education for all children. The Aztec Empire had one of the world's first universal education systems. All children, regardless of social class, were required to attend school. Noble children went to Karmikat for advanced learning, while commoner children attended Taupoqli for basic education and military training. This was more progressive than most European systems of the time. Fact number 67. The Library of Alexandria wasn't destroyed in one event. Hollywood loves to show the Library of Alexandria burning down dramatically, but it actually declined gradually over several centuries. Funding cuts, political instability, and changing priorities slowly reduced its importance. By the time Arab armies conquered Alexandria, in 641 CE, the library was already a shadow of its former self. Fact number 66. Vikings reached America 500 years before Columbus. Leif Erikson and other Viking explorers established settlements in Newfoundland around 1000 CE, 5 centuries before Columbus. The settlement at Lanceau Meadows has been excavated and confirmed as authentic Viking construction. They called the new land Vinland because of the wild grapes they found growing there. Fact number 65. The Great Wall of China took over 2,000 years to build. The wall wasn't built all at once. Construction began in the 7th century BCE with individual state walls, continued through various dynasties, and wasn't completed until the Ming Dynasty, 1368 to 1644 CE. Different sections were built, rebuilt, and connected over more than 2 millennia. Most of what tourists see today was built during the Ming Dynasty. Fact number 64. Ancient Romans had fast food restaurants. Called thermopolia, these ancient fast food joints served hot, ready-to-eat meals from large ceramic jars built into marble counters. Archaeologists have found over 150 of these establishments in Pompeii alone. Romans could grab hot stew, bread, wine, and other quick meals, just like modern fast food, but 2,000 years earlier. Fact number 63. The Black Death changed the course of English language. Before the Black Death, 1347 to 1351, French was the language of the English court and upper classes. But the plague killed so many French-speaking nobles and clergy that English became dominant again. This is why English today is a mix of Germanic and French-derived words. We literally have the plague to thank for the language you're hearing right now. Fact number 62. Genghis Khan may have been history's greatest conservationist. The Mongol conquests were so devastating that vast areas of farmland reverted to forest, removing about 700 million tons of carbon from the atmosphere. Some scientists argue that Genghis Khan's wars temporarily slowed global warming by reducing human population and agricultural activity. Environmental protection through conquest, definitely not recommended as a modern strategy. Fact number 61. The printing press sparked the first information revolution. Johannes Gutenberg's printing press, around 1440 CE, was as revolutionary as the internet. Before printing, a single book took months to copy by hand and cost as much as a house. After printing, books became affordable for ordinary people. This democratization of knowledge fueled the Renaissance, Reformation, and scientific revolution, all because information became accessible. Fact number 60. Ancient Chinese invented paper money 600 years before Europe. The Chinese began using paper money during the Tang dynasty, 618 to 907 CE, while Europe didn't adopt paper currency until the 1600s. Chinese merchants found it easier to carry lightweight paper receipts than heavy coins for long-distance trade. Marco Polo was amazed by this system when he visited China in the 1200s. Fact number 59. The Rosetta Stone wasn't just about Egyptian hieroglyphs. The Rosetta Stone contains the same text in three scripts: ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, Egyptian Demotic script, and ancient Greek. It was created in 196 BCE as a tax exemption decree for priests. Napoleon's soldiers found it in 1799, and it became the key to understanding Egyptian hieroglyphs, all because ancient priests wanted a tax break. Fact number 58. Medieval cathedrals were ancient skyscrapers. Gothic cathedrals were the skyscrapers of their time. The spire of Lincoln Cathedral, in England, was the world's tallest building from 1311 to 1549 at 525 feet, taller than the Great Pyramid. These massive stone structures pushed the limits of engineering and took generations to complete, with craftsmen passing their skills from father to son. Fact number 57. The Renaissance started because of a refugee crisis. When Constantinople fell to the Ottomans in 1453 CE, thousands of Byzantine scholars fled to Western Europe, bringing with them ancient Greek texts that had been lost in the West for centuries. This influx of knowledge and scholars helped spark the Renaissance. Sometimes great cultural movements begin with tragedy and displacement. Fact number 56. Ancient Mesopotamians invented the first known recipe. The world's oldest known recipe is for beer. Written in Sumerian on cuneiform tablets from around 1800 BC, it includes detailed instructions for brewing. The ancient Sumerians considered beer so important that it was used to pay workers and was part of daily rations. They knew how to prioritize. Fact number 55. The Crusades created the first international banking system. To fund their holy wars, Crusader knights developed letters of credit that could be deposited in one country and withdrawn in another. Italian banking families like the Templars created the first international financial networks to support these religious expeditions. Modern banking has its roots in medieval holy war financing. Fact number 54. Samurai warriors were highly literate poets. Popular culture shows samurai as pure warriors, but they were expected to be accomplished in poetry, calligraphy, and literature. The samurai code emphasized both bull, martial skills, and bun, cultural skills. Many famous samurai wrote beautiful haiku and were patrons of the arts. They were warrior philosophers, not just fighters. Fact number 53. The Little Ice Age changed world history from roughly 1300 to 1850 CE. Earth experienced a period of global cooling called the Little Ice Age. This climate change caused crop failures that contributed to the French Revolution, forced the Vikings to abandon Greenland, and froze the Thames River in London so solid that frost fairs were held on the ice. Climate has always shaped human history. Fact number 52. Ancient Indians performed cataract surgery. Sushruta, an ancient Indian physician, around 800 BCE, performed cataract surgery using a curved needle to push the clouded lens away from the pupil. His surgical techniques were described in the Sushruta Samhita, one of the world's earliest medical texts. European surgeons didn't master cataract surgery until the 18th century, over 2,000 years later. Fact number 51. The Silk Road wasn't actually a road. The famous Silk Road was actually a network of trade routes spanning over 4,000 miles from China to Europe. It wasn't a single path but dozens of interconnected routes through mountains, deserts, and cities. Merchants rarely traveled the entire distance. Goods were passed from trader to trader, making global commerce possible in the ancient world. Fact number 50. Medieval people thought beavers were fish. Because beavers spent so much time in water, medieval Christians classified them as fish, meaning they could be eaten during Lent when meat was forbidden. This wasn't unique to beavers. Capybaras, puffins, and even barnacled geese were considered fish by creative medieval theologians who wanted to expand their Lenten menu options. Fact number 49. The Mayan calendar was more accurate than ours. The Maya calculated that a year was 365.2420 days, long incredibly close to the modern measurement of 365.2422 days. Their calendar was more accurate than the Julian calendar used by Europeans until 1582. The Maya achieved this precision through centuries of astronomical observation, without telescopes or modern instruments. Fact number 48. Ancient Persians invented air conditioning. Persian architects developed wind catchers, towers that captured cool breezes and directed them into buildings through underground channels where they were further cooled by water. These ancient air conditioning systems were so effective that some are still used today in Iran and other Middle Eastern countries. Talk about sustainable technology. Fact number 47. The plague created the first labor rights movement. The Black Death killed so many workers that survivors could demand higher wages and better working conditions. In England, the 1,381 Peasants' Revolt was directly caused by attempts to roll back these post-plague wage increases. The epidemic accidentally created Europe's first major labor movement and began the slow decline of feudalism. Fact number 46. Inca roads were better than Roman roads. The Inca built over 25,000 miles of roads through some of Earth's most challenging terrain, across deserts, through mountains, and over rivers. Their roads were so well engineered that many are still used today. Unlike Roman roads, Inca roads didn't use wheels. They hadn't invented them, but were perfect for llama caravans and human runners. Fact number 45. Medieval universities had student riots. University students in medieval times were notorious troublemakers. In 1355, the St. Scholastica Day riot at Oxford started with a complaint about wine quality and ended with townspeople and students fighting in the streets for 3 days. Over 60 students died. Town gown conflicts were serious business in medieval times. Fact number 44. The Byzantine Empire lasted 1,000 years after Rome fell. While the Western Roman Empire fell in 476 CE, the Eastern Roman Empire, Byzantine Empire, continued until 1453 CE. That's nearly 1,000 more years. Constantinople was one of the world's largest cities throughout the medieval period. The last Byzantine emperor, Constantine XI, died fighting on the walls of Constantinople as the city fell to the Ottomans. Fact number 43. Ancient Egyptians had pregnancy tests. Egyptian women would urinate on barley and wheat seeds. If the seed sprouted, she was pregnant. If barley grew faster, it would be a boy. If wheat grew faster, a girl. Modern testing has shown this method was about 70% accurate for detecting pregnancy. The hormones in pregnant women's urine do affect plant growth. Fact number 42. The Statue of Liberty was a joint French-American project. France paid for the statue itself, while Americans raised money for the pedestal through crowdfunding. Newspaper publisher Joseph Pulitzer launched a campaign asking ordinary Americans to donate. Over 120,000 people contributed, most giving less than $1. It was one of the first major crowdfunding success stories in history. Fact number 41. Medieval knights rarely fought on horseback despite popular images. Knights spent most of their combat time fighting on foot. Horses were expensive and vulnerable, so knights typically rode to battle, then dismounted to fight. The heavily armored knight in shining armor charging on horseback was more of a ceremonial or tournament activity than battlefield reality. Fact number 40. The Great Chicago Fire started the same day as an even deadlier fire. On October 8, 1871, while the Great Chicago Fire was burning, an even deadlier fire was raging in Peshtigo, Wisconsin. The Peshtigo fire killed over 1,200 people, the deadliest fire in U.S. history, but Chicago's fire got all the attention because it happened in a major city. Both fires may have been caused by the same weather conditions. Fact number 39. Ancient Greeks had vending machines. Hero of Alexandria invented the world's first vending machine around 215 BCE. It dispensed holy water in Egyptian temples. When someone inserted a coin, it would fall onto a pan attached to a lever, which opened a valve releasing holy water. When the coin fell off the pan, the valve closed. Ancient automation. Fact number 38. The 30 Years' War killed 40% of Germany's population. From 1618 to 1648, the 30 Years' War devastated Central Europe so completely that some German regions lost 40% of their population. It started as a religious conflict between Catholics and Protestants but became a power struggle involving most of Europe. The war was so devastating that it took Germany over a century to fully recover. Fact number 37. Japanese samurai and American cowboys existed at the same time. The samurai class wasn't abolished until 1876, while the American Wild West period ran from roughly 1865 to 1890. Tom Cruise could theoretically have met both samurai and cowboys. In fact, some samurai visited America during this period as part of diplomatic missions. Imagine that cultural exchange. Fact number 36. The Salem witch trials lasted less than a year despite their lasting infamy. The Salem witch trials ran for only 10 months in 1692 to 1693. 20 people were executed, and over 200 were accused. The trials ended when the governor's own wife was accused of witchcraft. Suddenly, the whole thing seemed less reasonable to him. Funny how perspective changes when it affects you personally. Fact number 35. Ancient Romans had a 13-month calendar. Before Julius Caesar's reforms, Romans used a 355-day calendar, with an extra month called Mercedonius inserted every other year. This system was so confusing that politicians would manipulate the calendar for personal gain, adding or skipping the extra month to extend or shorten their terms in office. Caesar's new calendar was a huge improvement. Fact number 34. The Lighthouse of Alexandria was ancient GPS. One of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, the Lighthouse of Alexandria stood over 400 feet tall, and its light could be seen 35 miles out at sea. Built around 280 BC, it guided ships safely to harbor for over 1,500 years. During the day, it used mirrors to reflect sunlight. At night, a fire provided the beacon. Ancient mariners' lives depended on this ancient GPS system. Fact number 33. Medieval people brushed their teeth with twigs. Before toothbrushes, people used chew sticks, twigs from trees like neem, miswak, or oak that naturally had antibacterial properties. They would chew one end until it frayed into bristles, then use it to clean their teeth. Many of these natural toothbrushes were actually more effective than early manufactured toothbrushes. Fact number 32. The Pony Express lasted only 18 months. This legendary mail service ran from April 1860 to October 1861, just 18 months. The transcontinental telegraph made it obsolete almost immediately. But during those 18 months, riders covered 650,000 miles and delivered mail from Missouri to California in just 10 days instead of the usual 20+ days by stagecoach. Talk about a brief but memorable career. Fact number 31. Ancient Chinese invented toilet paper in 851 CE. The Chinese were using toilet paper over 1,000 years before it became common in Europe. Arab traveler reports from 851 CE noted with amazement that the Chinese used paper for personal hygiene. Europeans continued using whatever was handy, leaves, corn cobs, or old rags until toilet paper finally arrived in the 1800s. Some innovations take time to spread. Fact number 30. The Eiffel Tower was originally temporary. Gustave Eiffel's tower was built for the 1889 Paris Exposition and was supposed to be torn down after 20 years. Parisians initially hated it, calling it an eyesore. It was only saved because it proved useful as a radio transmission tower. Now it's the most recognizable symbol of Paris and one of the world's most beloved landmarks. Sometimes the most criticized innovations become the most cherished. Fact number 29. Medieval cats had jobs. Cats were so valuable for controlling rats and mice that they were assigned official duties in monasteries, ships, and government buildings. Many were given salaries paid in food rations. Ship's cats were especially prized. They protected food stores from rodents during long voyages. These weren't pets, they were professional pest control officers. Fact number 28. The dancing mania spread across medieval Europe. Starting in 1374, groups of people across Europe were seized by uncontrollable urges to dance for days until they collapsed from exhaustion. The mania spread from town to town like a contagious disease. Some historians think it was caused by ergot poisoning from moldy grain, while others believe it was mass hysteria triggered by social stress and religious extremism. Fact number 27. Ancient Babylonians had consumer protection laws. Hammurabi's Code, around 1750 BCE, included the world's first consumer protection laws. If a builder constructed a house that collapsed and killed the owner, the builder would be executed. If a surgeon killed a patient during an operation, his hand would be cut off. These weren't just suggestions, they were enforced legal standards with serious consequences. Fact number 26. The Maya discovered the mathematical concept of zero. While Europeans were still struggling with Roman numerals, the Maya independently developed the concept of zero around 300 to 400 CE. They used it in complex astronomical calculations and created one of the world's most sophisticated mathematical systems. The concept of zero wouldn't reach Europe until the 12th century, brought by Islamic scholars who had learned it from Indian mathematicians. Fact number 25. Viking women had more rights than most medieval women. Viking women could request divorces, own property, and run businesses. They could serve as priestesses and even warriors, the legendary shield maidens. When their husbands died, they inherited everything and became heads of their households. Viking society was surprisingly progressive when it came to women's rights compared to most medieval cultures. Fact number 24. The bubonic plague still exists today. The same bacteria that caused the Black Death still infects about 1,000 to 3,000 people worldwide each year. It's found in prairie dogs, squirrels, and other rodents in the American Southwest, parts of Africa and Asia. Modern antibiotics can easily cure it if caught early, but it's still the same disease that killed 1/3 of Europe's population in the 14th century. Fact number 23. Ancient Persians invented the first postal system. The Persian Empire created the world's first organized postal system around 550 BCE. The Angarium used a relay system of mounted couriers who could deliver messages across the empire faster than ever before. Herodotus wrote the famous line about these postal workers: "Neither snow nor rain nor heat nor darkness of night stays these couriers from the swift completion of their appointed rounds." Sound familiar? The U.S. Postal Service adopted this as their unofficial motto. Fact number 22: medieval people loved board games. Chess, checkers, backgammon, and many other games were hugely popular in medieval times. People of all social classes played games for entertainment. Many medieval manuscripts include illustrations of people playing board games, and archaeologists regularly find gaming pieces in medieval ruins. Even in an age without screens, people found ways to have fun. Fact number 21: the Aztec capital was larger than any European city. Tenochtitlan, the Aztec capital, had a population of 200,000 to 300,000 people when Spanish conquistadors arrived in 1519. This made it larger than any European city at the time. London had only about 50,000 residents. The city was built on a lake with sophisticated canals, floating gardens, and causeway connections to the mainland. Spanish conquistadors were amazed by its size and organization. Fact number 20: ancient Egyptians invented breath mints. Egyptians created the first breath fresheners by combining frankincense, myrrh, and cinnamon into small pellets. They were serious about oral hygiene and created various tooth cleaning powders and breath treatments. Given that they also used dead mice to treat toothaches, breath mints were probably a welcome improvement in their dental care routine. Fact number 19: the first computer bug was an actual bug. In 1947, computer pioneer Grace Hopper found a moth trapped in a relay of the Harvard Mark II computer, causing it to malfunction. She taped the moth in her logbook with the note, "First actual case of bug being found." While bug was already slang for mechanical problems, this became the literal first computer bug. The moth is preserved in the Smithsonian. Fact number 18: medieval people had sophisticated banking. By the 12th century, Italian merchants had developed double-entry bookkeeping, international letters of credit, and complex investment partnerships. The Medici Bank operated branches across Europe and pioneered many modern banking practices. Medieval finance was far more sophisticated than most people realize. They weren't just bartering with chickens. Fact number 17: the ancient Olympic Games had bizarre events. Beyond running and wrestling, ancient Olympics featured events like the pancration, no-holds-barred fighting where only biting and eye-gouging were forbidden, and chariot racing with up to 40 chariots competing at once. There was even a race where runners wore full military armor. The games lasted 5 days and included religious ceremonies, feasting, and massive crowds from across the Greek world. Fact number 16: Cleopatra spoke 9 languages. Cleopatra VII was incredibly educated and reportedly spoke Egyptian, Greek, Latin, Ethiopian, Hebrew, Arabic, Troglodyte, and several other languages. She was the first Ptolemaic ruler in 300 years who bothered to learn Egyptian, the language of the people she ruled. Her intelligence and education were just as legendary as her beauty, though Hollywood tends to focus on the latter. Fact number 15: the London Underground had a pneumatic railway. In 1863, London's Metropolitan Railway used steam trains, but by 1890, they experimented with pneumatic tubes to shoot passenger cars through tunnels using air pressure. The system worked but was abandoned because it was too expensive to maintain. Imagine being shot through underground tubes at high speed. It was like a real-life version of those bank drive-through tubes. Fact number 14: ancient Romans had social security. Roman Emperor Trajan created Alimenta, a social welfare program that provided food assistance to poor children throughout the empire. Wealthy Romans were required to loan money to farmers at low interest, and the interest payments funded the program. It was one of history's first systematic government welfare programs, running for over 200 years. Fact number 13. The Great Molasses Flood of 1919 was deadly. A tank containing 2.3 million gallons of molasses burst in Boston's North End, creating a wave of syrup 25 feet high moving at 35 miles per hour. The molasses flood killed 21 people, injured 150, and destroyed buildings. The cleanup took weeks, and the harbor was brown until summer. Residents claimed they could smell molasses on hot days for decades afterward. Fact number 12. Medieval people believed in dog-headed humans. Medieval Europeans were convinced that cynocephalide dog-headed people lived somewhere in the distant world. These creatures appeared in medieval maps, travel accounts, and even religious texts. Some scholars tried to determine whether dog-headed people had souls. Christopher Columbus and other explorers actively searched for them in the New World. Fact number 11. The Antikythera mechanism was an ancient computer. This 2,000-year-old Greek device could predict eclipses, track planetary movements, and calculate Olympic Games dates. Discovered in a shipwreck in 1901, it's so sophisticated that nothing comparable was built again until medieval clockwork appeared 1,000 years later. Ancient Greeks essentially built the world's first analog computer to track celestial events. Fact number 10. Spartan women owned 40% of all land while Spartan men were off training for war. Women managed the economy. They could inherit property, own land, and conduct business independently. Spartan women were also physically trained and participated in athletic competitions. Aristotle blamed Sparta's decline on women having too much power and wealth. Apparently, gender equality was controversial even in ancient times. Fact number 9. The Cambodian Angkor Wat was the world's largest city. At its peak around 1200 CE, Angkor was home to over 1 million people, making it the largest urban settlement in the pre-industrial world. The temple complex we see today was just the religious center of a massive city that covered over 400 square miles. It had sophisticated water management systems with canals, reservoirs, and hydraulic engineering that supported the enormous population. Fact number 8. Ancient Egyptians had the world's first labor strike in 1170 BCE. Workers building Ramesses III's tomb went on strike when their food rations were late. They sat down at their workplace and refused to work until they received their pay. The strike worked. Officials quickly provided the overdue rations and promised better treatment. This was the first recorded labor strike in human history, and it happened over 3,000 years ago. Fact number 7. The Byzantine Empire had flamethrowers. Greek fire was a secret incendiary weapon that could burn on water and was nearly impossible to extinguish. The exact formula was such a closely guarded state secret that it was lost to history. Byzantine ships used siphons to spray this liquid fire at enemy vessels, giving them a decisive naval advantage for centuries. It was essentially medieval napalm. Fact number 6. Ancient Chinese had seismographs 1,700 years before Europe in 132 CE. Chinese inventor Zhang Heng created the world's first earthquake detection device. It featured bronze dragons holding balls in their mouths, positioned around a bronze jar with frogs below. When an earthquake occurred, the ground vibrations would cause a ball to drop from a dragon's mouth into a frog's mouth below, indicating the direction of the earthquake. Europe didn't develop seismographs until the 1700s. Fact number 5. The Maya had a more accurate calendar than we use today. The Mayan long count calendar is more precise than our Gregorian calendar. While our calendar has leap years because we calculate a year as 365.25 days, the Maya calculated it as 365.242036 days, incredibly close to the modern astronomical measurement of 365.242190 days. Their calendar won't need adjustment for thousands of years, while ours requires periodic corrections. Fact number 4. Medieval people tried to turn lead into gold. Alchemy wasn't just medieval superstition, it was the foundation of modern chemistry. Alchemists developed laboratory equipment, discovered new chemical compounds, and perfected techniques for distillation, crystallization, and purification that we still use today. While they never turned lead into gold, their experiments led directly to the scientific revolution and modern chemistry. Fact number 3. The Inca built roads that rivals modern engineering. The Inca road system included suspension bridges spanning gorges hundreds of feet deep, roads carved into cliff faces, and tunnels through solid rock, all without metal tools, wheels, or written plans. Their roads connected an empire stretching 2,500 miles along the spine of the Andes Mountains. Many of their engineering solutions were so elegant that modern engineers study them for inspiration. Fact number 2. Ancient Baghdad was the world center of learning. During the Islamic Golden Age, 8th-13th centuries, Baghdad's House of Wisdom was humanity's greatest library and research center. Scholars translated and preserved Greek, Persian, and Indian texts, made breakthrough discoveries in mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and philosophy, and invented algebra, advanced surgery techniques, and accurate star maps. While Europe was in the Dark Ages, Baghdad was illuminating the world with knowledge. Fact number 1. A single vote decided the language of America. Here's the most mind-blowing historical fact that will change how you think about everything. In 1795, the U.S. House of Representatives voted on whether German should be the official language of America instead of English. German immigrants made up about 1/3 of Pennsylvania's population, and there was serious consideration of making German equal to English in official government documents. The vote that kept English as America's primary language was decided by just one vote, cast by House Speaker Frederick Muhlenberg, who was himself German-American. He cast the deciding vote against the German language proposal, reportedly saying the faster the Germans become Americans, the better it will be. Think about this: if that one vote had gone the other way, you might be watching this video in German right now. The Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, American literature, movies, music, all of it could have been in German. World War I and II might have played out completely differently. The entire course of human history pivoted on one man's single vote. Frederick Muhlenberg literally decided the linguistic future of what would become the world's most powerful nation with one decision. Every English word you've ever spoken, every American song you've heard, every Hollywood movie ever made, it all traces back to that one historic vote in 1795. And that, my friends, is why history is the most incredible subject in the world. One vote, one decision, one moment, and everything changes forever. Can you believe we just traveled through 100 incredible historical facts together? From ancient Roman mouthwash made of urine to a single vote that determined America's language, history is absolutely wild. But here's the thing, we're just getting started. I've got 100 more incredible facts coming in part 2, and trust me, they're even more mind-blowing than what you just heard. We're talking about secret societies that shaped the modern world, ancient technologies that we still can't replicate today, and historical figures who weren't at all what you think they were. If this video absolutely blew your mind, and I know it did, smash that like button, subscribe and hit the notification bell, because part 2 is coming soon, and you do not want to miss it. Also, drop a comment below with the fact that shocked you the most. Was it the German language vote? The Roman fast food restaurants? The dancing plague? I read every single comment, and I love hearing which facts amazed you. Share this video with your friends, your family, anyone who loves learning incredible things about our amazing world. History isn't boring, it's the most incredible adventure story ever told, and we're all part of it. Thanks for joining me on this incredible historical journey. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and remember, the past is way more amazing than you ever imagined.